Aussie developer Broadside Games embarked on a now 7-year journey of making their first game as an independent studio. A team of 3 good mates, they set out to make the game they always wanted to play, a balls-to-the-wall first-person shooter set in outer space, where you assume the role of a spacetronaut who can harness the brawniness of a bear. There's more than meets the eye on this wonderfully wacky indie title, so here's everything you need to know about bears in space. You play as Maxwell Adams, a spacetronaut turned castaway on an unknown planet. Oh, and his DNA has been merged with Beartana, the she-bear. She may be grisly and gruff, but she has the only voice of reason in an otherwise insane galaxy. Maxwell and Beartana have to claw past their differences and work together to find out what happened to his crewmates, all while finding a way off the planet. Players can unleash Beartana on the world by consuming honeypots. It's at that point that she'll take over Maxwell's body and dish up a rare kind of martial art for your enemies, bear foo. Whether you want to leverage the speed and agility of a black bear, the unbridled rage and power of a grizzly bear, and many more bearish qualities, you need only get your paws on those pots of sticky golden goodness. Think Serious Sam with a dash of Returnal, Bears in Space sends you straight to hell. Bullet hell. You'll be facing a legion of bots out for bear blood, so be prepared to run and gun, jump, dash and dodge your way through these ruthless robot hordes. Not to mention, you'll be facing off with some bosses that will really test your limits.
Oh, bother. Double bother.
An old school shooter at heart with some modern bells and whistles, it's a love letter to the dooms and time splitters of the world. Don't fret about the overwhelming robot resistance you'll be facing though, because in addition to your paws of fury, you'll have a suite of weapons and gadgets at your disposal. Any sci-fi shooter worth its salt has a ridiculous arsenal of weapons for the player to choose from, and Bears in Space is no exception. With over 20 unlockable weapons available to the player throughout the course of the game, combat rarely looks or feels repetitive. You start with the tried and true pistol. Now in most games, upgrading your guns will simply boost the power and maybe give you a bigger ammo clip. But in this case, you will quite literally get your paws on a second and then third pistol to use all at once. Take notes, Call of Duty. The upgrade paths for some weapons vary. Simply racking up more kills will unlock the next tier, but in some cases, finding a specific item or completing a certain objective will allow you to unleash a weapon's true capabilities. Whether it's the Gatling laser or the Gamma launcher, there's a gun, gadget or tool for every situation. The blokes at Broadside Games are on the record about drawing heavy inspiration from retro sci-fi, comic books, and their beloved Saturday morning cartoons. A lot of the game's comical nature also shines through in its moment-to-moment gameplay. One minute, you'll be running and gunning through an area with countless robots, the odds seemingly not in your favour. The next, you'll be playing a game of Basket Cube in your own version of Space Jam. However, even with the many sources of inspiration, Bears in Space proudly produces its own unique brand of humour.
Vegeta!
As you progress through the game, you will encounter special missions and side stories that will see a change of pace and mix up the gameplay. This could involve investigating a crime scene, battling a rock god, or unleashing your inner kaiju. You'll be having so much fun, you'll start wondering why you'd ever want to leave the planet.
I'd almost forgotten what we were doing here.
The replayability doesn't stop there, however, because once you've completed the main story, you can have another crack and start over with all your weapons and upgrades from your previous run. With there being a serious lack of bear representation in games these days, this Aussie-made indie is a breath of fresh air. You can get your paws on Bears in Space today, because it's out on PC via Steam and the Epic Games Store right now. And for all things bears, whenever they find themselves in space, keep it locked to IGN.